Welcome to True Crime with Sisters. My name is A-Dub.
And I'm Donnie.
And our first episode is called Paternity Tests Gone Wrong. So it's about a young lady named Jasmine Dunbar, 21-year-old woman, my mom that was set on fire. According to this, it says over paternity test, but we're going to get into that later. So I'm just going to read some of the facts that we do know about this case here. Jasmine Dunbar was a young mother who would do anything for her 7-month-old daughter. So those who knew her immediately sensed the worst when the 21-year-old disappeared recently and her little girl was found on the roadside in a car seat. The Phoenix, Arizona woman who was loved by family and friends and known for her infectious smile was supposed to meet up with her estranged boyfriend on March the 8th, 2018, but she was never heard or seen again. Dunbar's body was recovered days later in a field near Camelback Ranch Spring Training Baseball Park in Phoenix. Family and friends gathered recently to release balloons in the air and remember Dunbar at a vigil. Mind you, this was in 2018, so I am reading the article from that date. We all gained a beautiful angel looking down on us and guiding us. Close friend Yvonne Young told the AZ Central, if there was one person who didn't deserve this, it was Jasmine. A GoFundMe was created by Tanya Smith, which is Dunbar's mother, raised 5,700 donations for funeral expenses and help care for her infant daughter. 21-year-old Antoine Trevon Ware, which was Dunbar's ex-boyfriend, had been arrested in the slaying. He was held in the Maricopa County Jail on a plethora of charges, including suspicion of first-degree kidnapping, body endangerment, and child abuse, according to KTVK. Now, Ware allegedly told authorities that he picked up Dunbar and her infant on the night she vanished, but he dropped them off after argument. Now that I'm reading this article and a lot of the things, it says her, so it makes me believe that he was not the father of the baby, because it says her infant. But Dunbar's godmother said Dunbar was supposed to meet up with Ware so he could take a paternity test, was records show. But Ware changed his story. When interrogated by the police, he said that he had struck Dunbar several times with his fist and left her bruised and battered in a field. He then drove away, leaving her still alive while he kept the child in the back seat. Why would you go back to kill her? For what? Because she asked you to take a DNA test? Dunbar's mother said, according to the Associated Press. But then Ware said he returned to the scene. This is what AZ Central says happened next. Police said Ware returned to find Dunbar dead. He told police he put a piece of paper on her, doused her with gasoline, and used a cigarette to set her alight. He said he watched as her body burned and the fire went out on its own. Young said Dunbar's friends chose to hold a candlelight vigil outside where the police reportedly found her body because this is where her last moments of life were. Young and others had also expressed sympathy for Dunbar's 7-month-old daughter. It's going to take a village to raise her because she was cut short of her mom's love, Young said. All we can do as Jasmine's friends is not forget about her and give her daughter the love that we know that she would have gave her. Ware admitted that he had a physical altercation with Jasmine, punched her a number of times with his fist, police said in a probable cause statement. Probable cause, okay. According to the Associated Press. To read the police report via, it says click here. Now, GoFundMe was set up for the funeral arrangement and for the victim's daughter. It was more than $10,000 what was raised. Okay, that kind of proves so that was what that article was. And this was, I'm going to give credit to Black Girl Tragic. That's who posted that article. And this was posted back in 2018.
So after going through all of these articles, we noticed that there were several holes in what could have been the reason for Ware creating the murder. It says that he picked her up on a Tuesday night to do the fraternity test. And we both thought, like, what would be the reason for him picking her up at nighttime to perform a fraternity test?
Right.
Was the test even performed? What triggered him to want to murder her? Did he get the results before this happened? Were they planning on spending the night together before the murder occurred? That's neither here or there what the results were, but we were prompted to believe that maybe she told him that it was a possibility that he wasn't the father. Maybe that was the trigger for what happened. In the beginning, he was arrested for suspicion of first-degree murder, kidnapping, body abandonment, and child abuse. And obviously, he had some sort of plea deal because the charges were downgraded to only 2 charges, which were first-degree murder and endangerment. Arizona took a couple of days before they were able to discover her body via helicopter after it had been burned in a field that should have had a lot of foot traffic going near, due to the fact that it was in March and it was found near a baseball park, which around that time, baseball season is starting. Also, the baby was found a couple of days later, still strapped in the car seat by a couple. One of the articles that we read said that he intended to go back for the baby after burning her mother. And we were still confused on what made him think that was a reason to go back, which again points to the fraternity test. Was the baby his baby and he wanted to go back and try to save the baby, but when he saw the authorities circling the area, he decided to retreat. Also, there was no information about why they were estranged, what caused them to break up. Was there prior abuse in the relationship between the two? And if so, why was Jasmine traveling alone with this individual at nighttime if there had been prior abuse in the relationship? We feel like that could have been prevented maybe if she wasn't by herself.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem. That seems kind of strange because they say estranged, which means they was not together. They probably weren't together for a while, and he picked her up at nighttime to go do a paternity test. What place is open at nighttime for paternity? Like what was it? What triggered him on the way to in the car for him to not, because we couldn't find out one article where it was the paternity test was done. So and even now that I'm looking at it, it says her infant, like they're referring to the baby as her child. Never, not once is none of these articles is saying that was his baby, that was their baby. So that kind of will bring up a lot of suspicion. I'm not saying that that's a reason to do anything, but that would be a motive, or that would be some type of reason behind the madness of him, because she was dead already. He went back to burn her body. So like we all know, a lot of men are emotional and they don't know how to handle some of the things that they can dish out. So it's just like you went back to burn her body, which shows how evil and your how his thought process was. But he had a little empathy because he wanted to go back and get the baby. So that is all. It all plays a part. Like in my head too, it's like, why did the family let her go with him alone? Did she feel like it was going to be safe because she had the baby with her? A lot of times, women, when they're in domestic violence situations, the kids sometimes can be like their scapegoat. So was it like, did she feel like she was going to be okay? Because, he's not going to harm me in front of the baby or anything like that? Or is that the reason why? Because it's something that triggered him in between him picking her up and then that happening, because like we were saying, we never seen that one article where the paternity test was done. Like on one of the articles, it did say that man sentenced for murdering ex on the way to paternity test, and then the other article said
desktop U40 TFD3.
Oh wow. And then the other one said Jasmine Dunbar, young mom set on fire over a paternity test. So that's conflicting. It looks like to me, it could be because she was the victim, so it doesn't really matter why it was done, but maybe that's what kind of was not said because they're protecting her, because she died in such a brutal manner. Maybe the mom knew, maybe the family knew that Antoine Ware was not the baby's father. So I don't know.
Some other things that I noticed as well. We saw that there was a statement made to the news in Arizona from Tanya Smith, who was Jasmine Dunbar's mother, but there's no statements at all regarding Ware. Nothing talking about Antoine's background, if he was happy to be a father, if they had any signs of remorse for what happened, which is really strange. Nothing mentioning anything on his behalf. Another thing, too, that I noticed was that there were no reports about a missing woman. It said that it took a couple of days before her body was located by helicopter. Was Maricopa County dragging their feet in the search for finding her body? Why did it take several days in a helicopter before her remains were found? Was it the fact that her daughter was found, which prompted the search for her? And did anyone in her family try to come to the local authorities about her being missing before the body was found?
Or did they not think nothing was wrong because he was with her? That when it comes to estranged is not necessary. I don't think estranged has been a positive word. So it's like they was not together. It sounds like they had history of maybe arguing or some type of, I'm not going to say abuse or there, but it was something going on in the relationship, but she felt like she felt like she could trust him. And we do want to say, ladies, please, no matter how much you trust the person or how much you feel, domestic violence is never okay. It's never okay. Please seek help. Get out the situation before things are too late, And I always would suggest, if you have not been with somebody for a while, or not even for a while, if y'all are broke up, don't meet that person alone, or don't try to meet up with friends, try to meet up at a public place. I know I had a friend that used to meet her kid's dad at the police station. That's where she used to meet and drop off the kids at. Like, he didn't like it, but that was the only place she would agreed to do an exchange with when it comes to the kids. So you have to be able to be safe like this, and be proactive and take precautionary measures too, especially when y'all not together no more, because you never know what's going in the other person's head.
And bringing the children with you with that individual does not make you safer. I know a lot of women seem to think that, oh, well, if I bring my children, he wouldn't harm me in front of my child. And in this case, we don't know if that was a trigger or not. I mean, eventually he beat her to death or unconscious in front of her 7-month-old and then abandoned her on the side of the road. So it didn't help her.
When he set her on fire, she was already dead. That's what the article said, that she was dead. He came back to set her on fire. That is a sign of rage. That is a sign of a lot of hate, a sign of a lot of stuff, because it's like an overkill. If she was already dead, why did you have to burn her body? He sat there with a cigarette. I mean, he burnt her body and sat there and watched her body burn. That right there is like really a sign, like he was evil, but then you look on the other part on there, he didn't harm the baby. Like, when you think of like mob and like places like where it's like the mob family, like they'll kill the whole family all the way down to the babies. Like they wouldn't leave any survivors. So it was, did he have any type of empathy? Because that was his child, and he was mad that it was a possibility that it was other men that could have been, because the mom said on the article that what kind of stands out to me is that the mom said that she said, what was it? Let me go back to it. Why would you go back to kill her? For what? Because she asked you to take a DNA test. Dunbar's mother told Tanya Smith, said, according to the Associated Press. So that's what my whole thing is. Like the DNA test, she asked him to take a DNA test. So that could have made him mad because, why is it a possibility of why we got to take a DNA test? Like, why is it other people involved in this? And that could have, made the things we're still trying to figure out if he was the father or not, because the articles are saying that there was on the way to take a paternity test. The other one is saying that he over the paternity test. So that would be a real clear motive to the reason of why he done what he done.
Yes, and based on Tanya Smith's statement about why would you come back to kill her over a DNA test, it actually makes me think that the test had already been done.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he just came back to talk to her, allegedly came back to talk to her. And maybe he already had planned to do all of these things. But the articles don't release enough information to determine if that was even performed, if it even happened. But based on her mother's quote, it sounds like he already knew what the results were.
Right. He already knew. It seemed like they all knew. Like the family knew. Like usually you're close to your mom, so the mom probably knew and all that, which makes me question, why would you let her leave with them? Like, it shouldn't have been no way why they left at nighttime to go do a paternity test. Like, I'm trying to figure out where. Like, let me know, because I'm not from Arizona, so I don't know how the laws are in Arizona. But where can you get a paternity test done at nighttime? I mean, just let me know, unless they was going to Walgreens to pick up one of them ones where they was going to do it in the car and send it off. Like I'm trying to figure out, because obviously she felt like she was safe enough to go with him. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the court thing that was actually played then. This was the news clip from that day that was aired back in 2018. On your TV, as local as you are. Download today. This is Fox Local.
A Maricopa County judge hands down a life sentence to a man who killed his ex-girlfriend and abandoned her baby on the side of a road. Back in March of 2018, Antoine Ware was driving with 21-year-old Jasmine Dunbar and her 7-month-old child when he killed Dunbar. Police found her body in a field near 107th Avenue in Camelback. It had been set on fire. A couple of days later, a couple found the baby alive in a car seat near 83rd Avenue in Camelback and called police. Today, County Attorney Rachel Mitchell thanked that couple for saving that baby, saying, quote, "This child is alive today because of your heroic actions." Ware pled guilty to first-degree murder and endangerment.
And yeah, for him to plead guilty, it was just awesome that he was for all the facts that he was admitted to and everything that's on there. I don't see where he did not mention, because that was something that I would have brought up. Like, I mean, not like me as the person, but it would have been something that would have been said, like his motive. Like, yeah, like I beat her because he was telling about what he did to her. But he would have said, yeah, I did that because she told me that the baby wasn't mine. So, but it never was said like that. And that to me is the mystery about everything, because that's how they're titling each article, or most of the articles that we're seeing is about, it's about a paternity test. So that's what it was about, the paternity test, that I don't know if it was done or if, like I said, if they were on their way to go do it. It's just really a sad situation too. And it was lucky that the baby lived, because the baby was only 7 months. The baby went 2 days without milk, Arizona's hot. Arizona is hot. So in March, it was hot. And that was the grace of God that baby was still alive when that couple found it. So that was that right there was a blessing right there. But it's just so many loopholes in this story that doesn't make sense. But he's convicted. It's not like we're still looking for the killer and he's at large still. But they found him. He was convicted of first degree murder, sentenced to a life sentence. So he's doing the time for the crime, but it's really sad, like a sad situation, because if he was the father, it's like now this baby don't have a father, a mother, raised by the it looks like it raised by the maternal grandmother, right?
Yes. And another reason why this case has been circulating is because although this happened in 2018, he was just sentenced this year in 2025 for this, even though he did plead guilty, which makes me think that there were more holes in the investigation, maybe in him cooperating with telling what happened. It's just a very tragic case. And the fact that they're using the fraternity test as a headliner is even more disturbing because no results came out. You know, it doesn't say anything about abandoning his own child. That could have really just said, man kills his ex-girlfriend, you know. But
and they're referring to as her infant and never saying theirs or his, you know. So it's kind of looked like, because that can be still done. He's still alive. So it's not like the paternity test can be still done. You know what I mean? And he can still try to get rights or have his parents get rights for the baby. I've seen it done before where the grandparents try to step up and knowing that their son is wrong or did this and that. But in this case, it was nothing. Nobody has stepped up on his side or mentioned anything on his behalf,
which is extremely strange. I mean, no one has come forward on his behalf, apologizing to the Dunbar family or offering assistance to take care of the infant. In one of the articles that we read, it mentioned that the grandmother also had health problems. Mm-hmm. So,
because the baby, we're saying infant now because we're speaking as if like past tense, right? 2018, but she's about 7 now?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
again, we're not condoning domestic violence or saying that is a reason to commit any kind of atrocity like this. If you happen to be struggling with any domestic violence in your life, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or thehotline.org.
All right. Well, that concludes our first podcast, Fraternity Test Gone Wrong. If you have any input or what do you feel about this, if y'all know anything that y'all done seen on this, feel free to comment, let us know, send us a message, and just let us know, because this right here is a very sad situation. Like the baby, was it a baby girl or baby boy? They don't really say, did it?
Baby girl.
A baby girl. She's left without her mom, you know. So, all right. Well, that concludes. Thanks for listening to True Crimes with Sisters. This is A-Dub.
And Donnie.
And you have a great, blessed day. Peace.